Independent voters, you have a choice to make for the upcoming primary election. If you want to vote, you need to pick a side. Today, why the Oklahoma Democratic Party says to register with them. Plus, another look at Oklahoma's Survivors Act. Only one woman has seen her jail sentence reduced because of her history of abuse. But today, a new wrinkle, the surprising number of men seeking relief under this new law.
Stories beyond the headlines, connected to our state. Oklahoma Chronicle with Evan Onstad.
Bodies, gender, and sexuality for children ages 7 to 10. Yes, this book should be burnt.
What we're creating is a red tape nightmare where any parent or guardian with an axe to grind can run a school district through continual appeals and complaints that are inappropriate.
We need a change. If we are serious about improving education, then we must involve parents and listen to them and respect and take their concerns seriously.
We already have these processes in place. This is a solution looking for a problem.
A lot to talk about with our guest this week, the chair of the Oklahoma Democratic Party, Erin Brewer. Erin, thanks so much for being here. We appreciate it.
I'm so glad to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
Well, it's great to have you. And I do want to talk to you about some of the things that have been talked about there at the state capitol. There's a lot of things that I'm sure that you can't wait to talk about.
It's an interesting session, right? Always.
It always is. But let's start with this voter registration thing, okay? Because you guys have been pushing very hard to try to get independents to come over to the Democratic Party. How is that going?
Yeah, and even some frustrated Republicans, and it's going so well.
Really?
Yeah, so we targeted new Democratic voters in 3 key counties, some swing counties, and we are seeing new Democratic voter registrations outpace Republicans by 2 to 1 in Oklahoma, Tulsa, and Comanche counties over the last 3 months. That's something that we haven't seen in years. It's a trend we love. It's something we've worked really hard for, but now we're expanding that invitation to join us.
Now, is part of that because of the fact that independents, as we stand right now, if they want to vote in the primaries, they have to pick a side?
You have to believe that's part of it.
It has to be, correct? Because traditionally, independents get to vote on the Democratic primary ballot.
For the last about 10 years, we have allowed them to vote with us.
I know the state election board, when this came out, and this happened, by the way, right? As I think you were taking over the chair position of the
It was a wild week.
I'm sure it was. But they made it sound like your party really dropped the ball, and that's why it happened. Is that true?
Well, I think they could make that argument, but do I think it's true? No, I don't. I think we worked pretty hard to inform them of the decision that our Democratic delegates had made at our convention over the summer, and we'd spoken in writing, over email, on the phone, more than one conversation. We didn't get the information that we needed to do this to tell them in November. And the letter they said we never received. So
right, and the decision you made, just to be clear, that was to allow to continue.
Yes.
To continue to allow independents to vote on the Democratic primary.
We would have really loved to have allowed independents to continue voting in our primary. So a mistake happened, and I think it's debatable who owns the fault. I don't know. I didn't know all the rules.
And so, is there any challenge underway? I mean, what's done is done here, right?
Yeah. So we did pursue potentially a challenge and decided it probably, 1, might not have happened in time. And so 2, probably wasn't worth the trouble, if you will.
How long is it going to be before independents will be allowed to vote again?
So we'll vote again in 2027.
Okay.
And then we would reopen that, and we would know to notify the election board in November specifically, not October, not August, in November.
So you want independents to come over to the Democratic Party. Why should they? Because I can see some people making the argument that here in Oklahoma, my vote might have more of an impact if I'm voting in the Republican primary.
That is an argument people have been making for years, and it's not working.
Really?
The data would show you the Republican Party is only getting more extreme. So this idea that attempting to moderate some of our Republican policy in Oklahoma by infiltrating, by voting in Republican primaries, we still got stuck with Ryan Walters. We still had Kevin Stitt. We still have some really extreme legislators at the state capitol that are frankly harming our state. And so the strategy of remaining a registered Republican in order to bring some moderation is just not panning out.
There's going to be some shuffling seats this election because it's kind of a trickle-down effect. The dominoes falling from Senator Mark Wayne Mullen moving over to, head up Homeland Security, and then somebody's going to take his seat, and then all the people are going to run for that seat, and then there's going to be a lot of open seats, new candidates. Is there any talk amongst your party about finding a way to take advantage of some of these vacancies?
This is one of those really important primaries. So we have 3 Democrats running for U.S. Senate right now. That's a crucial primary that we need intelligent voters participating in, because an open seat does change the dynamic of what voters think about when they consider that election in November, when we have a final general election ballot. The dominoes are going to keep falling, I think.
I think they will.
And I can't predict all of that, but I'm watching it just like everyone else. It's entertaining.
It is a lot harder to run against an incumbent, of course. And so there's going to be a lot of places in which there's 2 fresh faces.
That's right.
I mean, it might be somebody who's already holding office going into something else.
But it'd be a new role for them, yes.
So what does the strategy meetings look like for the Democratic Party?
Yeah, so, well, number one, we have 3 great candidates running in that Senate race. We have primaries actually in our Congressional District 1 where we think Kevin Hearn's going to jump into that Senate race.
Yeah, already has,
Yeah, so we have great candidates and primaries in our congressional districts already. So we've been doing this groundwork. It's part of this voter registration strategy. The more folks that are participating as Democrats, the more confident Democratic candidates have to stand up and run, and the more likelihood we actually do moderate some politics in Oklahoma.
What do you see the responsibility being, not just yourself, but the Democratic Party in Oklahoma, a state where obviously we have a lot more conservatives than liberals, much more red than blue. How do you see your responsibility here?
So number one, I want to push back on that just a little bit. I know people do say we're a red state, and voter registration might lead you to believe that, but we're just barely over half on Republicans. We're a really gerrymandered state, and that's a big part of this.
There are statewide offices, and we can talk about gerrymandering, but statewide offices, though, are still lean
but only
Republican.
in the last 15 to 18 years has that been that way. I mean, 2011, we had a Democratic governor.
Sure.
And things were dramatically different. So
Brad Henry feels like a long time ago.
I know it does now, but Democrats have a really proud history in Oklahoma. It's why public education was enshrined in our state constitution. We were one of the first states to do that. It's why we have always held the values about working people and working families and honoring our sovereign tribal nations. These are things Democrats have been committed to for a really long time. So we are continuing to work for an excellent public school in every community, for great jobs for every community, for health care available in every community. These are things that Oklahomans broadly value, and it's what Democrats are committed to. So if that's the invitation today, is if those are the things that you're frustrated with us about that aren't happening now, come and join us and let's really change things. And we have more candidates running than we have had in a decade. So far more choices for voters across the state.
We've got a couple more minutes, and I wanted to reference something that we showed here at the top of this, and that is just the debates going on with some of these more controversial bills at the state capitol. What has been, I'd love to hear what you've been encouraged by that you've seen at the state capitol this session, but also what are the things that have really upset you?
Yeah, so first of all, Democrats have gotten more than 80 bills approved and ready to be heard on the floor, which is great because they're working in a bipartisan way. We understand collaboration, and we're focused on solving real problems. This last week was wild. They spent hours debating in the House around whether librarians have some agenda to expose children to inappropriate material. I want people to think about their librarians in their local school. These are people that love kids and know it's age appropriate for them. That's not a problem that really exists. Meanwhile, 400 child care facilities across the state have closed. Our schools are at the bottom of the rankings. We've seen major corporations just decide to leave our state. We have challenges we really need to focus on. It's going to take working together. It's going to take real dialogue, talking about ideas and solutions, and debating silly things that aren't really problems just don't get us there.
The one thing that has been talked a lot at the state capitol and here on this program is how they're approaching education investment this year. There has been a big focus on putting more money towards literacy programs and stuff like that. Are you encouraged by some of that? I know that there's a lot of debate on where the money's going to come from and other things, but how are you and how is the Oklahoma Democratic Party feeling about what we're seeing out of education right now?
So there's agreement that we do need to focus work on literacy and probably in math as well, and some high dosage tutoring. I think both parties have proposed plans toward that. The difference is how we fund it. So on the Republican side, they're going to take money from our teacher retirement system. That is just really not a good idea. It also doesn't help our current teacher pipeline that they may see that their retirement is maybe not going to be there for them. On the Democratic side, we said, let's get rid of this $250 million to private school vouchers that's largely going to families that can already afford it, and let's put that toward our public school kids. So that's been the big difference, is how are we going to fund this agreement that we do need to be supporting kids in a better way on reading and math.
It is interesting because the program is $254 million, this literacy program
That the Republicans proposed, yes.
And then the $250 million private school tax
Right.
credit that we have is,
Right.
is about the same.
And the 254 includes an additional $25 million to those private school vouchers.
So how do you fight against sort of this thing? Because obviously our Democratic reps and senators, they are undermanned, to put it
Yeah.
mildly. Are they doing exactly what they need to be doing? Is there more they can do?
I think it's up to citizens at this point to be contacting our legislators, whether they're Democrats or Republicans, and saying our schools need more support. Our kids need you to do right by them. We understand we're in a budget hole. We're $500 to $600 million behind in revenue where we were last year
Right.
because of some tax cuts. So they're going to be making really tough choices. And is a program that primarily funds wealthy families a program we should continue? And I think that's where we need citizens to be calling their legislators and asking that question.
Erin Brewer is the chair of the Oklahoma Democratic Party. Erin, thanks so much for being here this week.
Thank you, Evan. This was a great conversation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's do it again soon.
Nice having you. You can come on back whenever.
Thank you.